Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Paul, and I'm the current National SAC representative for the American Athletic Conference, in addition to being the chair of the American Athletic Conference Student Athlete Advisory Committee. Today, I'm here with Enna Selmanovic, our former chair of the American Athletic Conference Student Athlete Advisory Committee.
Hi, everyone.
What does Pow6rful Minds mean to you, and what started Pow6rful Minds?
So I think I'll start with its inception story, because I think every time I talk about it, this is the one thing I tell people, but it started with 12 student athletes. We were all sitting in a room down in Rhode Island at the old American Athletic Conference office, and we kind of looked around the room trying to decide what our kind of priorities were for the year. And basically, we had many adults in that room too, and they can all testify that there wasn't a single dry eye by the end of that weekend. You know, every time we discussed what we wanted to focus on, it always turned out to be or led back to mental health. And so that was kind of how Pow6rful Minds started. It was our idea of an initiative to raise awareness, to bring people together, to support mental health in student athletes, because every single student athlete, whether they know it or not, is affected by mental health in some way, shape, or form. And so we wanted to do something to honor that, but to also make sure that we're moving forward and we're helping our student athletes. And so what it means to me, I've seen it from the start and I see where it's now. So, first off, it's innovation. This is something that I don't think a lot of people have had the privilege to be a part of. And to think that it really just started out by student athletes for student athletes is pretty awesome. It's my pride and joy. I love it. It's Pow6rful Minds is what led me to finish my collegiate career on a happy note. So
awesome. Would you say that it's difficult for student athletes to be vulnerable in the realm of athletics?
Yeah, 1,000%. I'm sure, Chris, you can testify to it as a football athlete. So I was a swimmer in college. I swam at the University of Cincinnati. And after my injury, that's really when mental health became a big piece of my life in general. Yes, because I was struggling, and truly because I didn't know who to reach out to. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what to do at any time or given time. So yeah, mental health and just talking about it was not easy, even as a swimmer and even as a female, just because we always had coaches and athletic trainers telling you, just get back in, just keep going, it's fine. But once that's all taken away from you, when you least expect it, yeah, it was really hard. And it became difficult to talk about. But through coping mechanisms and my support, that's what helped me get through it. And I know that was how Pow6rful Mind, or that is what Pow6rful Minds is for most people and most student athletes, just another way to get the conversation going and to find solace in, the highest of highs and the lowest of lows.
I can most certainly attest to that as well. And just working to build an environment that sort of denounces the toxic masculinity when it comes to being vulnerable and understanding that not every situation is one where you can just suck it up and thug it out. Like, these are real world issues that we need to deal with at hand. What advice would you give to student athletes that see themselves struggling to get that message across?
As much as I hate to say it, it's one of those things that we only really realize that we need mental health help or need to speak to someone until we've reached, that kind of that tipping point, and I think that the first thing, my advice would be to people is to start early. This isn't a taboo conversation. This isn't something that you can't talk to your parents about. It isn't something that you can't talk to your teammates about. So I think even if you feel like you're not struggling, first thing is reach out to somebody else and ensure that they're doing okay. Because if you start that conversation for someone else, I can bet you that later down the line, you'll feel more comfortable also talking about any struggles that you're having. I'd also say reach out to your support. As student athletes, we are so lucky to have access to so many people that are actually in our corner. Sitting on national SAC, especially, and you'll see it, when you're at the national office, there will be people who will tell you that you don't belong or that your voice doesn't count yet. It's not that it doesn't matter, but it doesn't count yet because, you still got to learn the ropes and you don't know enough. But when it comes to your mental health and supporting student athletes, there are people out there that do care. And so finding those people that care about you, whether it's, for me, it was my academic advisor, Raymond Robertson. He, to this day, is still my best friend and the man that saved me. He helped me get through so much. And as my simple, athletic academic advisor, he was the person that just ensured that I stayed eligible regardless. So finding those people that support you, that's definitely my advice. Start early. Find your niche, find your clique, whatever you want to call it.
From a student athlete standpoint, you did mention that it's important to start early, but what is the best way to go about finding mental health resources on campus if you would like to seek someone outside of the athletic department to get that sort of true step away, if you will?
Of course. So it varies between campuses. It's not just a cookie cutter kind of solution or algorithm to, find the best solution, what's on your campus or what's not. But I always say start with your athletic trainers. They are trained for this job. They are trained to provide you with resources. And because Pow6rful Minds has gotten the conversation going for so many people, I'm sure that your athletic trainers are aware of, where to go, who to see, how can you get an appointment, whatever it may be. That's step number one. Reach out to athletic trainers. Coaches as well, your athletic director. I can't promise you that all athletic directors, you see them every day, but I know for certain that they do care and that they are aware of what resources are out there. They're another, person you can go to. But for campus resources, there are definitely a lot of collaborations, whether they're peer-led support groups, which is something we had at Cincinnati, which was awesome. Student athletes could attend these normal, student groups that were just open discussions for people that wanted to, who could make the time and who wanted to talk. So there are organizations like that on your campus. There's definitely different ways and different resources out there that you might have to do a little bit of digging, but I promise you that someone you're close to is probably aware of them.
Awesome. And we talked a little bit about Pow6rful Minds inception, and we are going into our 4th year.
It's crazy.
This fall, which is crazy. What would you have to say about Pow6rful Minds growth as a whole? And if anything, what do you hope to see in the future?
Of course. Well, first year, I joke about this all the time that I think my biggest struggle, or our biggest struggle, was not only me in starting Pow6rful Minds, was getting buy-in, was having somebody believe us that this is something that was really important. And it wasn't until I actually spoke to Dr. Brian Hainline, the chief medical officer for the NCAA, and he decided to make mental health one of the NCAA's priorities my first year of SAC. Because we had many conversations and he looked me in the eye and he was like, this is something that affects every student athlete. So we need to do something about it. So when the head honchos finally bought in, that's when we were able to, get things rolling and get things going. And with their support, with the conference's support, this never would have happened. We would have never gotten to a 4th year, but we're here. And I think one of the milestones too was seeing the logo at conference championships on ESPN. It was literally on the TV screen. And I had people reaching out to me saying hey, I see the little lapel pins, things like that, the ribbons on the helmets. It's grown exponentially, which is really awesome. And I can't wait to see just more support from other institutions, maybe grow it NCAA-wise or wide. It doesn't have to just stick to the American Athletic Conference. This is something that started here. It was born here. It was raised by us, but it's not going to stop here. So,
would you say that we as a conference served as a pioneer in terms of starting this conversation and really putting it forward?
Yeah, if you think back to it, like I said, when I first started SAC there was different organizations and different people that, cared about mental health, but there really weren't many student-led initiatives that were started. And I remember the SAC representatives from Damn Worth It at Oregon, they reached out to us to ask if they could have some ideas. There was the American East Conference who also reached out and asked, like, hey, can we use that idea? And it's all about collaboration. It's all about spreading the wealth. This isn't like a me versus you, a conference versus conference. This is something that affects every student athlete. And so with open arms, we're like, yeah, use whatever you want. But we were definitely pioneers. And I'm proud to say that, like, we started this. So, yeah.
All right. Lastly, what would you have to say in terms of final words as to why student athletes within our conference should engage with the Pow6rful Minds and join the good fight, if you would say?
So why they should? Well, you can't force anybody to do anything. That's like the first thing. And as student athletes, we're independent. We're driven like no other, group or self-identifying group of individuals ever. And there's many causes to, buy into. But 1 in 5 people in America are affected by mental health. And that's not just student athletes. And back when we first started Pow6rful Minds, it was 7% of student athletes had died by suicide over the previous 9 years. And to some people are like, 7%, that's nothing. But to me, to our other, conference SAC representatives, that was everything. That 7% didn't need to happen. That could have been avoided. And that could have simply been avoided by having initiatives like the Pow6rful Minds campaign and having our teammates, knowing about resources. So I think it's, we're supposed to be civilians and we're supposed to be active members of our community, especially now it's time to vote, guys. But in general, we're supposed to, support our community. And this is one way and how to do it. It's an easy way. So that's why I say buy-in. If you can't do anything else, in your time and you're really, really busy, this is the one way that you can support and respect your teammates, that you can support your coaches, support your school and your athletes and your success is by buying into mental health and Pow6rful Minds.
What would you say about the importance of getting coaches involved with the Pow6rful Minds initiative? I mean,
Chris, if your coach tells you to do something, are you going to do it?
100%.
Exactly. There's no other person that's on your staff or the people that support you that you would not listen to. You're going to listen to the coach 100%, no matter what they say, because you trust them. They are there to guide you. So yeah, we need coach buy-in. We need coaches to appreciate mental health, and we need coaches to understand that mental health affects everything, affects your daily life, affects your school, which you need in order to stay a collegiate athlete. You need to get those grades, but if you're not doing well in the classroom, you can't do well in your sport. So it started with, the strong in body, strong in mind. Like you need to have this mental health kind of awareness or integration into our student athletes' lives. So yeah, coach buy-in is so important. But I think, as a conference, if you look back, it's changed dramatically. And now coaches are getting more education. Mental health resources are being put into their contracts so that they have also access to these mental health providers that student athletes do, because their jobs aren't easy. It's just as hard as a student athlete's job to manage that many student athletes and to care for them. So yeah, we need to ensure that our coaches are there, supportive, understanding, and that they also too are a part of Pow6rful Minds.
Thank you so much, Enna.
Of course. Thanks, Chris. I appreciate you.